May I start? So, today, first of all, I want to thank the organizer of this conference, especially Professor Sasaki, for his kind invitation, and the Dean of the Doshisha University. My presentation will be, in short, another face of Florence, because everybody normally speaks about Florence in terms of city of art. And now I would like to stress some points that are connected with fashion and design. So the idea is to show how Florence is perceived by the consumer and by the supply side in terms of fashion and design. Please, next. Creative city may be studied according to creative class approach or creative industry approach and creative cluster. In our analysis, we want to show you the connection between creativity and artistic heritage. That is one of the features of Florence in comparison for the other creative cities that you can find in the world. For instance, London or Tokyo or Milan are completely different because they are not have this connection with art. Next one. So the research question is, in short, is Florence a fashion city? We have analyzed the supply side and demand side. By the supply side, we study fashion and design cluster and industry. So the dimension of manufacturing is the dimension that is especially important for Florence. In London, for instance, it's much more important the design dimension, so the creative class approach. But for us, it's much more important the manufacturing, so the industry approach. And by the demand side, the question is Florence perceived as a fashion city? What is the role of artistic heritage? And we have done previous analysis, a small survey on fashion consumers and visitors this summer in one of the most famous fashion streets in Florence, that is Via Tornabuoni. Starting with a definition of fashion city. My definition of fashion city is to consider the city of Florence as a creative local system that will be characterized by a concentration of, next one, of fashion and design industry, creative cluster, and fashion designer. So what I'll try to stress are the concept of cluster, industry, and creative class. And one of the main points is that you can find all these three dimensions in our city. Next one, please. So, what is a creative cluster that is specialized in fashion and design? The idea is to focus on the concentration of product, process, and in the same place, according to industrial district theory, that in this case may be considered as a cultural district. And the cross-fertilization of idea, the multidisciplinary of creativity in general, and the different creative sector that you can find in the same city give to Florence a very strong energy, synergy, and is fruitful by this perspective. The creative industry are different kind. The most important are the cultural and the creative one. The cultural are, for instance, media, so TV, movies, and advertising, publishing, and so on. And creative industry are much more connected with the new technologies. So in this sense, software here in Japan, for instance, the video game industry, it's one of the most important examples that don't exist in Italy. So, for instance, this kind of idea of cultural product like video game that connect new technology and culture is a special factor of identification for Japan. And the other point is the creative class. That means to consider the human capital, the designer, the fashion designer in this special case, that are concentrated in the same place. So the point is that you have in Florence both creative design, so the human capital, both with the creative industry. And they are also concentrated in terms of creative class. What is it, a creative class? Creative cluster. There is not only creative industry, but also institution and no-profit organization like museum. So in this sense, Florence is a special place, and someone speak about this city as a cultural milieu or a new creative milieu. Next one, please. The hypothesis that we try to test in these first works that was done by me and my group, a PhD student and assistant research, Patrizia Casadei and Francesco Capone, that were with me for a long time, was to discuss the idea of city of art and creative city in terms of the connection with heritage and fashion. And this is a special feature for Florence. Just to give you some example about this idea of the manufacturing creative city, this may be the correct definition of Florence. You find in Florence a very important leather production and many international celebrated designers like Gucci, Salvatore Ferragamo, Emilio Pucci, Braccialini, and a dense network of fashion and design excellent education center like Polimoda. So you don't have only firms, you don't have only designer, but we have also school. That means that you can create a creative spillover in the same way that you discuss about technological spillover. So it's another idea to develop. And the other point is about fashion museum. You know that Florence is very important for museum in general. You know Uffizi, Beato Angelico, just to speak about also by other kind of museum, not only Uffizi. There is also Bargello, there is also Accademia. There is, it's a cluster, museum cluster in Florence. So what is special now is you have also fashion museum. Salvatore Ferragamo Museum, it's very interesting because it's the story of Salvatore, the founder of the company, and Gucci is much more connected to the seller dimension. It's not like Ferragamo, but it's quite interesting. And there is also in Palazzo Pitti a section that is concentrated on fashion. So you have the different kind of museum in fashion that are localized in Florence. The past and the future and the contemporary activity, museum that use modern art as for performer. So you don't find, for instance, modern art in Florence, but fashion do this. So it's a very special situation. And another point was about the fashion district and outlet. Now around Florence there are a lot of malls, like the mall of Barberino Design Outlet, and the people come to buy the dresses and so on to the cheaper price. And now we can find a new kind of tourism in Florence that may be fashion tourism. So fashion became a new segment of market in this sense, because you can buy, you can look at the firm that produce this kind of dresses, and you find also a museum. So you have the experience in the city, out the city, and inside the firms. And it's a new trend, very special. Obviously, all these are connected with promotional event like PT. Next one. So I give you, next one. I give you some data about that. So, next one. This one, okay. So you see that we have studied the fashion cluster. You find Milan at the first point, but Florence exactly after. So it is very important. We have among 6,000 of firms that are working in fashion. Next, please. And this is about cluster. You see the concentration index by the left side, you have fashion and design especially, and on the right side, you have all the cultural and creative city. So you see the concentration in Tuscany and in the middle Italy about fashion. Next one, please. And here you have Tuscany, so you have the specialization in fashion not only in Florence, but also in Pisa and in Siena. So it's easy to see the connection with art and fashion in this sense. Next one, please. Oh, before, yes. And to have an idea about the perception of the tourism into the connection with fashion and design, we have done a questionnaire to 200 shopping tourism in Via Tornabuoni. Next one. And you can see that it's important, art and culture, about the reason to visit Florence, but you have shopping, food, and landscape that are quite the same pattern. And this is a very important change into the behavioral, tourism behavioral. So you have to consider that in terms of creative industry, the periphery of the creative industry become much more important than the core. Next one, please. And the reason why, because they decide to shop in Florence, you see that is so important, the linkage with the city and local heritage. And so an action of reinforce about the branding strategy. So to conclusion, the next one, please. Okay. So Florence may be considered a fashion and creative city, both, but demand side and supply side. So our idea to discuss about Florence with a special kind of creative city, because it is connected with heritage and design driven at the same time. And manufacturing design city is another important point. A local concentration of cluster of firms specialized in fashion, mainly leather. Just to give you an example, also Prada, in 2015, now, a couple of 2 months ago, decided to move from Arezzo, and now it's in the same place, close to Ferragamo, close to Gucci, Prada too. So every luxury firm are concentrated in the same place. And to conclude, the interrelation within culture and artistic heritage in Florence are absolutely strong. I conclude. Thank you so much.